So, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me today for today's CoolCare Masterclass. For today's Masterclass, we're going to be looking at the PCS and CoolCare integration, understanding how that works and what it can do for you in your home. As I'm sure you're all aware, CoolCare is here to make operating your care home easier, more efficient, and more profitable. Today, focusing on the efficiency side of things and make things easier for you as well by linking CoolCare and PCS together. So, using Zoom today, you can ask questions in our masterclass if you do have any. You should find the Q&A option on your Zoom window, with which you can use to then ask any questions you have on what we're going through. Anything you think at all as we're going through, don't be afraid to ask on there. I'll be able to answer any questions as they come up. And at the end of the session as well, we'll have some time after we've gone through everything to just have any other questions you've got. So if you want to stick around at the end and ask any further questions, feel free to do so. We'll have some time once we've done. So, for today's agenda, same session, we're going to be looking at how CoolCare integrates with person-centered software, PCS, allowing you to, as it says there, seamlessly transfer staff and resident data from CoolCare to PCS when they come into your home. So we'll be looking at how the integration works for you in your system, how it can be set up and configured between PCS and CoolCare, how to actually use the integration itself for actually transferring the data, how the data is checked to prevent duplication of any data, as well as the support and offer and how to get it all started if you are interested in using it. So with that in mind, I'll swap over to my demo system and we can get things going. So, just access my system and I'll be within a moment. There we are. Let's share that. We should all see CoolCare on there now. So, let's see. Today we're focusing on how CoolCare links in with PCS, person-centered software. I suppose if you're not familiar, PCS, person-centered software, is essentially a care planning system that can do stuff for your staff and residents in there, which I actually now have a demo on I can show you on my system as well. And essentially, these can be linked with CoolCare to show the two systems essentially sending the information from one to the other. The general way that the integration works is you start off kind of with your data in CoolCare. What this will be is you'll put your new staff and resident records into CoolCare itself, and then from that, they can be sent from CoolCare into PCS to create a new record for them on this side. So you can start in CoolCare, send them to PCS. That way, you're not having to duplicate work and do it twice. You basically just have them in one session, in one place, and then send it to the other from that. And it is essentially a one-time, one-way integration, just to explain that. Essentially, you only need to do this once for every new staff member and every new residence. So when you add a new starter onto CoolCare, you then send to PCS, and that's kind of where it ends. It just goes from there, and that's it. So if you do then updates them, I'll say you need to update them on both sides, but we'll get into that a little bit later on. So the way the integration needs to be set up is it's mostly done by our support team. It requires a bit of data from PCS itself, which is specifically an API key, which can be found in PCS itself there with the option under your login. So you can get that from PCS, you can give that to our support team, and they can then set up the connection between the two systems. And they'll do all of that. And once it's set up, you'll be able to start, say, using CoolCare and PCS together. So you'll know the integration is working when basically you have an option available on your staff and residents to be able to send those records into PCS, which you can find. If you go to any, we'll go with staff record, for example, just to show you. Go to any staff member on your list. And well, this one's already been submitted on mine, but on the record, you'll have the button there to submit them to PCS, which will then send that record from there. So to show how it works in action, imagine you have a new starter for a new staff member in the home. You can create them on CoolCare first. So like insert on here. We can create our staff record. Just create a staff member in CoolCare, a few bits of information that you need. So we can add them onto here. All that. Whatever details you might need. Obviously, for CoolCare, there's a few bits of required information that we can pop in for them, such as name, date of birth, and some personal information for them in there as well as some the details of their role as well need to be added in. So we can pop in there their position, etc. And all details we might need for them in there, as well as their start dates. the other bit the PCS requires specifically is actually an email address. So, well, that's essentially what PCS use to make sure the record is unique to prevent any duplication of staff and residents in there. So, just going to make up one in there. And we can create our new staff record. So, once your staff member is created in CoolCare, you'll see them in there from that. And as soon as they're created, you can go to their record and you'll see the option there to send them to PCS. The button will just be there by default, and you just click that, and just like that, they get sent over to PCS, essentially transferring over the basic data you have for the staff member on their record here. As I say, the main thing that's required by PCS but not by CoolCare is that email address there, so that'll be needed for them. And once they're sent over on the PCS side of things, I just refresh that. We should find, if you give it a second, it usually takes a moment to just send them over. There we are. The new staff member is now in PCS here. The way it works on PCS's side is they're created as a new record with all the same details. If I click into them, we can see there he's got his name, date of birth that we popped in for him. The job, as they'll be their position in CoolCare. Their role will be set as owner in PCS, which is to do with more of their login details and access rights, which you can then edit after the fact in PCS here. Just by editing the details, you can change that, obviously add in additional details as you need to. But the main thing is you can then update their role, which updates their permissions if they need to log into PCS. So to use it on their side of things, you can make sure their role was set to have the right access rights for them. And then, like I say, from PCS's side, you can get them set up all on there. And that, like I say, is where the integration then ends. So if I were to update any of the details of this staff member in CoolCare, such as adding in additional personal details like an address or their additional personal information for them in here that we can add in, whatever it might be. When you update that in CoolCare, that will not change anything in PCS then. If I go back to PCS here, nothing's updated on this side of things. His details haven't changed with what I've changed in CoolCare. So remember, if you do update something in CoolCare, such as, for example, if this staff member, I know if I put something in incorrectly, if we need to add in any additional details like the NHS number, middle name, etc. in there, you can add it in here, but it will need editing in both sides, as I say, for it to properly update for them. So that's I think, how it would work for staff in there. Again, it's pretty simple, straightforward, as you can see. But it also works the same for residents. So any new residents you have in CoolCare, so again, we can add in a new resident record, go through that as well. So we have a new admission, a new resident that we need to add in. We can pop them in on here. In CoolCare, again, you would add them in as a new resident, either through the new resident page or via a new admission if you're using the inquiries part of CoolCare as well. Pop them into a room. We're just going to pop them as a new resident on mine here. And again, just filling out details for them in there. The details again, some required information from CoolCare side of things, so we can pop in on there. That's what to do with their actual stay in the home. But the main thing that PCS requires for residents that CoolCare isn't set as a required field is their date of birth. Again, that's what it uses as the kind of unique identifier to make sure they're not a duplicate being added to the system. So again, I need to pop in a date of birth for this resident, however far back that might be. And then again, the rest of the stuff in CoolCare is optional from that point. But if I save that, that is then that new resident added onto CoolCare. And from here, once again, from the record, you'll find at the button there at the top right, send it to PCS, which will do exactly the same thing. Click that, submits that resident record into PCS, and again, checking against that resident email address to make sure they're unique, not the email address, sorry, the date of birth to make sure they're unique in there. That will then update them on PCS's side. So if I go into my service users on here, give it a second to load up. hopefully find Jane in there now. And there they are. If two residents have the same date of birth, it would be based on the name. So it's the name and the date of birth, I should say, that checks there to make sure they're not duplicates on there. So if two residents have the same name, it will go by the date of birth as the unique identifier. If they have the same date of birth, it's going to be the name that separates them on there instead. Let's say the odds of having two residents with the same name and date of birth, I can't imagine are very high for most places in there. But as you can now see, with the new residents, say, transferred from CoolCare to PCS, they are now in here to get the same details we had. So their name, their date of birth, the room they're in, their admission dates, all picked up from CoolCare. And then obviously that would be updated, be added into here. Again, just like the staff, if I update something for the residents in CoolCare, it then needs updating in PCS as well. For example, if I did a room change for the residents in CoolCare, which I can do from the general page on here, just by clicking change room and moving them into a different room from there. If I did the room change here, that would then that would not update their room in PCS here, so it would need updating on both sides. Again, just through the edit details in there, you can update the room from that. So that's always the big thing to say, make sure you're doing when you are updating records in CoolCare. If they're in PCS as well, they need updating on that side. For the purposes of the integration, it's literally just put them in CoolCare, send them to PCS as long as they got the right data required, then it would transfer from one to the other. And it really is as simple as that. So, again, just to reiterate, staff records, new staff member. Remember, main thing you'll need for PCS purposes is the email address. And for residence purposes, the main thing you will need is the date of birth. So someone's asked a good question. Do you need to hit the PCS button when you first enroll staff or residents, or can you do it later? It's not time barred at all, so you can do it whenever you like. I just do it, straight away when you've got it on there. With that, but you can do it after the fact if you need to. So you could add in, a new starter. You might not have the staff member's email address to hand right away. So you can add them into CoolCare. Once you've got that email address, you can add it in on the record and then send PCS. Well, that's undo it essentially whenever you like, really. That's on there. Yes, and another question someone's actually asked on there is a reason why it can't update them afterwards. It's essentially just the way the integration works on a technical level. So it's just the way it's set up from the system. It's just a one-time, one-way thing. So it's just when you first set them up, that's all it does, and it's basically creating the new record from details in CoolCare in PCS. So it's not actually like the two are linked together. It's basically just creating the record from one to the next with that. So that's why it can't then update them afterwards, because there's not actually a link between the two. It's literally just sending the data from CoolCare to PCS to create the record for you, saving you the work at least in that first instance. Yeah. But really, that's kind of all there is to it with the way the actual connection works between the two. As I say, I like to think nice and simple. I say the main thing you require if you're using PCS already, you're not got it linked up with CoolCare, is remember you can get that API key from PCS, and our support team can then help get that set up for you. For anyone to say using both systems already that don't have it set up, you won't need to obviously link together the previous, your existing staff members that are already in PCS. You won't need to send them from CoolCare because you'd be creating duplicates otherwise. It's just for any new starters, new residents that aren't in PCS, when they come into CoolCare, put them on CoolCare first, and then they can be sent over to PCS's side. Of course, if you need any help with any of that, if you find any trouble with the link itself or just issues you want with CoolCare, any help you need, you've always got guides. We do have guides on the integrations themselves in CoolCare as well. So under our user guides page, we'll find it to put on the system configuration correctly. There's a little guide on the PCS integration explaining just how it works. If you have any questions on it or not sure of anything, you can find it in there. And of course, any additional help you need with it as well. If you're having trouble with the integration, if you find it's not sending anything across, anything like that, if it's not working for you, you can always ask our support team with our chat bubble there. You can use that, fill in your details, and then you can start a live chat with our support team, and they can assist you with anything you need from there. That's the thing. And if I mentioned already, if you are using PCS and CoolCare, you don't have them linked together, and you want to get that set up, you can get in touch with support, and they can help get the ball rolling on that. You could use the live chat, or you can get in touch with support some other ways as well. Bear with me. Let's say contact the support team. You can either email them in their support at CoolCare.co.uk, which for the PCS link, that'd be the easiest way to do it. You can just send them an email and they can then get what details they need from you and get it set up. Or, of course, you can call them over the phone instead if you want on that. 0113 385 3853 to call support, and they can assist you with anything you need, help get that set up for you. Let's say you just need that API key from your PCS system, which is easy enough to find, and then they can get it set up for you. If any other queries regarding your account on CoolCare, you can also get in touch with our customer success team as well. And if you want any additional training on the system as well from that, you can get in touch with us at training. If you are interested in that, feel free to email us, training@coolcare.co.uk. You may be entitled to some free of charge training as part of your CoolCare subscription. So if you want any training to go over anything else on CoolCare, not just the PCS integration, anything else you can think of, you should have some training available for you. It's not being used already, of course. And you can get in touch with us and we can sort that out for you as well. That's either email us or phone a team and we can check what training you have and get something booked in for you if you like. But as I say, for PCS integration today, that's really kind of all there is to show you for us. This one's gone a little quicker than usual, but hopefully that has been helpful for everyone. Again, if you want to stick around and ask any further questions, feel free to use the Q&A option on Zoom. We'll stick around for a little bit for any additional questions you have. But otherwise, all I have to say is kind of thank you for joining me. And I'll see you next time for our next webinar, which will be in 4 weeks' time. We're taking a little break in the 2 weeks. And then 4 weeks' time, we'll be doing the next webinar, which will be all about saving time and saving money in CoolCare, how those two kind of come together. So thank you all for joining. If you do have any feedback on our webinars or any ideas for future masterclasses you'd like to see, feel free to scan the QR code that's on the screen there, and that will take you to our feedback form where you can suggest any additional masterclasses you might like to see or any feedback you have on them in general. We'd love to have it. And all I have to say is thank you for joining me for this nice little masterclass on PCS and CoolCare. Hope that's been useful for everyone, and I hope to see you all again soon. Like I say, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them on the Q&A, and we'll stick around for a few more minutes to answer any questions people may have.